Make sense? Okay. Any questions so far? Good. let's do the back first. Yes.
Well, going back to what you said about, I don't think it's on, is it?
It doesn't carry there.
Going back to what you said about someone said something to you and you were angry, but it's my perception of it. But perception and reality, if someone said something to you, it's not your perception, it's they said something to you,
Right.
so it's a reality of what they said.
Yes, absolutely.
So your perception of what they said provokes you to retaliate against that person, but if I perceived it as something else, I don't know if you know where I'm going with this. The perception of it is what makes me either react or withdraw back from what they said. But what I don't get is, it's not my perception, it's what I heard come out of their mouth. So that's a truth, that's a reality. So that's where I'm confused.
It's your interpretation of what it meant and their intention.
Well, if someone said to me, well, I won't use the term, but off. You can't perceive that as something else. It
Right.
is what it is.
But if you had.
Okay, here's the thing. Wait.
But that's-
You remember? Okay, this is really good. This is really good. Let me, I know there's other questions, let me address this one, okay?
Okay.
Remember, cause and effect happens so fast.
Right.
Can happen so fast.
Right.
Especially with emotions. Right? So, what happens? Right? Someone tells you off.
Yeah.
Where is the injury? Why is that bad?
If you're not deserving of it, it's bad, yes.
All it is a sound, right? All it is air being compressed and forced through the vocal cords. That's all that actually happened, right? So that's our cause. We haven't got to the effect yet,
Okay.
right? The cause is there was some air that I breathed in, I forced it out through my vocal cords. My vocal cords were configured in a certain way, and it made this particular sound that happens to sound like a word or two in English.
Right.
Right? That's what happened. Yet, the effect is, we're angry, we're insulted, we want to retaliate. All because of a little error going through the larynx. What else had to happen? What else had to happen?
It's how we've been brought up in society to put a meaning to that word. We've decided that this F word is a bad word instead of it's just a word.
So we have to bring something to it,
Yeah.
right? It takes two to tango. Right? So not only does that have to be there, does it have to be said, and we can designate that as the primary cause if we want, but until it actually hits our brain, and until we actually interpret it, until we actually make it, into us then deciding what the person's intention was, that they're actually insulting us and they don't just have Tourette's. Right? Like the guy in the market, right? Like he can't control himself. Right? So a whole bunch of things, now cause and effect happens really, really fast in our brain. Right? So from that one effect, one cause, a whole bunch of cause and effect instantly happens in our brain. Right? To the point where we don't even know that it's gone on. And we say, I'm mad because you said that. But if we understand dependent origination, if we say, okay, well, really, it's not just that, it's all of these effects. Some of these causes I'm bringing, some of them you're bringing, some of them are just conditions that are all around us in our environment. Which one do you choose to be mad at? And why? And when we try to describe people's motivations, right? So not only are we trying to see what's going on in our mind, we're trying to see what's going on in their mind. And that's why it gets really tricky. Because we don't know what's going on in their mind. Right? What is their motivation for swearing at you? Right? And we instantly assume it's because, well, they're out to hurt us. They don't like us. They disapprove of us. They look down on us. We've done something wrong. Right? So we make up all these reasons. what if, instead of designating those reasons, why don't we just say it's because they're suffering?
I understand that part, but what I don't understand is through perception of something that's said,
Mhm.
if I say to you, we're going to the store, does it depend on how you perceive that? The truth is, you said,
Oh,
we
yeah.
are going to the store. So what I'm
If
saying
my wife
is,
says to me, we're
it's a
going to the store.
reality. It's a truth. It's a truth, we're going to the store. But where does perception come into play on that? Because it's a statement, it's, I don't know where you get perception out of,
So maybe that's a
Of
bad
the
example.
truth.
You're talking about if there's like an incontrovertible statement.
yes,
Okay. So like, we're in the car right now, we're driving, we're going to the store.
yeah.
Right? Okay.
So are there other ways to perceive that?
Yeah, if
Yeah.
you want to go to the store, you'll be happy about it. If you don't want to go to the store, you won't be happy about it.
If
No,
your
but
kids
I'm
in the
just-
car who wanted to go to the toy store, you're happy. If you're the husband who didn't want to go shopping.
So there could be a bunch, so there could be a bunch of other conditions, right? So yes, so to you, that could be an incontrovertible statement of fact.
That's right,
Right, that's all we're doing.
okay.
To someone else, or the person sitting beside you, it's like, you're not going to the park. You're not going home to watch TV. You're going to the store. Could be that, right?
Absolutely.
Yes, please.
Okay. We get through some knowledge from Buddha and through the teachings. We can turn off all the conditions to accept negative message every one day. But we couldn't because we're teach ourselves to be in that peaceful mind.
Right.
This is the stage we need to learn. So we accept some negative message or things and turn to positive. Don't let the negative things affect you. Keep calm. That's the purpose of meditation.
Exactly. Thank you very much. Thank you. And ultimately, whether something is good or bad, that doesn't exist in reality either. Right? That's just what we assign to it. If we say something is positive, negative, good, or bad, we're deciding what we think is good, what we think is bad. So in any situation, right, if we look at something and we say, oh, this is bad, can we actually step back and say, how can I see this is good? Or how can I see this is not bad? And it's possible to do that. Yes, at the back.
Is this on? Okay. Pertaining to what you just said about judging things as being good or bad, by that logic, you can't even say that being enlightened is good. So therefore, you can't even say that people should try to be enlightened because you can never justify it as being a good thing to be pursued. And also, similarly, if an enlightened person knows that there's no such thing as good or bad, then they also cannot justify being good towards other people. So, it's a central part of Mahayana to say that, being kind to others is like a natural outgrowth of enlightenment and like a goal to be pursued. But this is contrary to saying that nothing's inherently good or bad. And yeah, but Buddhism also says explicitly that there's no such thing as good or bad, etc. So, just like to point this out.
So intellectually, I follow your argument.
Yeah.
Right?
But you disagree?
Well, so intellectually, if you take what I said and you extend it to that, then yes, you're right. You can say nothing's really good or bad. So it doesn't really matter if they're good or bad because they don't really exist. But if I actually look at my experience, if I look at the world, right, would I rather have, a Buddha in front of me or, a demon, right, Hitler or something? Who would I rather play cards with? Right, who would I rather be with? If I look at the results of, what I designate as good actions versus negative actions, right, I would rather experience positive actions, positive tests. Right, I would rather do positive actions, right, because the effects of that, and this is back to karma, right? So if someone does a positive action, you get positive effects, and that's the world that I would rather live in. Right? If I do things, then I experience negative things. If I experience suffering, then those are the things to be avoided. Right? So while in an absolute kind of intellectual sense, I follow your argument, in reality it doesn't really hold up, I think. I think we're going to have too many questions more than time, but let's... I think there was...
Sorry, Susan.
Just following that, in a way, the fact that you would have to deem everything positive and negative, and in a way his argument does hold up, because to someone of another religion, there is no reason to become enlightened. The reason we see that as a good thing is because we have in our perception experienced and to some degree agreed with the fact that it's a good thing to be enlightened. So that is our perception. It isn't 100% fact. And in a way, absolutely everything is subject to that, good deeds and bad deeds.
Right. So even though, as a Buddhist, I have absolute faith that to become enlightened would be a good thing. But that's because of the faith that I've developed. Right? So not everyone would have that same faith, would have that same attitude. But the fact that I do, as long as I find that helpful, that me saying I want to be enlightened, I want to work towards being enlightened, I'm going to do what I need to become enlightened, as long as I find that that's helpful, right, that it leads to less suffering for me and others, that it makes myself and other people happier, I might as well keep going down that path. But I should never forget that it is still, even that, to some extent, is provisional. Right? So even that, I should question once in a while at least. And say, like, is this really true? Does this really still hold up? Right? And as Buddhists, we are always trying to actually question, even the most basic assumptions. It doesn't mean that we have so many doubts that we're kind of paralyzed and we don't do anything. It's just that we keep our minds open. Right? So, I know there's other questions, and I need to move on a little bit. Okay? So, but let's take the temperature in the room. Right? So we started off, everyone was fine, we came back to meditation. I promised you that, it was going to get complex, and now everyone's kind of like, complex, and your minds are buzzing, and some people are really confused, not saying anything, some people are like, kind of all over the place, and they're asking questions, and I've got like hands going up all over the place. So things have changed, right? So in investigating this question, which, even the Buddha said, this is like too complex for me to even try to teach. And once Ananda, one of his disciples, said something similar to this. So Ananda he was the Buddha's cousin, he was his attendant for many, many years. Right? He was a very accomplished, wise monk himself. And he said to the Buddha, how amazing. Never occurred to me before that this principle of dependent origination, although it's, you say it's so profound and hard to see, yet it appears to me to be so simple. And so this monk who's been practicing for decades, he actually sees dependent origination and he now sees it as simple. And the Buddha reprimands him. He says, say not so, Ananda. Say not so. The principle of dependent origination is a profound teaching, hard to see. It's through not knowing, not understanding, and not thoroughly realizing this teaching that beings are confused like a tangled thread, thrown together like bundles of threads, caught as in a net, and cannot escape hell. Cannot escape hell, the netherworlds, and the wheel of samsara, the wheel of rebirth. Right, so the Buddha doesn't actually say that it is actually complicated. He says that because our minds are tangled, because we're, and he says in other places it's because we have so many attachments, right? So many feelings, so many thoughts, so much wrapped up in our brains, that even though it might actually be very simple, we can't understand it. Not because it's hard, because our minds are tangled. Right? And if you look at your mind right now, maybe it's tangled. Maybe it's tangled with all these questions. Maybe it's trying to use logic to figure it out. But he said also you can't realize dependent origination just through logic.